Okay.
Hi guys, welcome to Talk with Nick. Today I have Fatma with me, with whom I got connected in LinkedIn, and she have a background in diverse subjects, algae, wheat, pasta, and have worked in different countries, Tunisia, Italy, Spain. So, which is quite an incredible journey. Maybe she have worked in more than these subjects that I have mentioned, and more countries that I have mentioned, and we will get to know about all these subjects from her. So thank you so much, Fatma, for joining in the show. I would be very interested if you could describe or explain, introduce yourself to my audience.
Okay. First, thank you for having me. So I'm Fatma. I'm from Tunisia. I did a PhD. Okay, I started by the engineer. I did engineering in food science and technology. Then I did a master. Then I did my PhD in food science and technology. And then I worked in Italy as a research fellow, and then as a postdoc in Italy. Then I moved to Spain to work as a my first contract was as a manager. Then I'm now a researcher in IRTA in Spain. Yeah, this
I
is
know
it.
that you're working in IRTA as a program manager and as a researcher.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about it? What is your work about in IRTA?
So in IRTA, I started in 2020 in January. So basically, I started working in as a manager for ProFuture. So ProFuture is an European project funded by the European Commission from October 2019 until October 2023. So it's a big project with 31 partners in 13 European countries. The main objective of the project is to develop food and feed using microalgae. So my job, like as a manager, my main tasks are uh, managing the consortium, reporting to my direct boss, who is the coordinator of the project, and he's my boss in IRTA, and monitoring and tracking, the financial and the technical execution of the whole partners because in the proposal there is like different work packages and different tasks. Everything's planned. So I need to make sure that everyone is doing the things by the book. So this is, yeah, in small words, this is it. Yeah.
That's great. Even my program manager in my lab is her name is Fatma as well, and she's
Really
from
nice.
Tunisia. So I think
Really.
the Fatmas are very good program manager, and they all are from Tunisia.
I don't know. I don't know. When I started, the first day I was googling project manager on Google. I did not know what to do because I was doing postdoc in the lab, having a lot of master students, doing my own thing, focusing on publishing, going to conferences.
Yeah.
Then I went out of my world and I will do manager. It's a great opportunity. I was like, I like the challenge. That's why I applied in the first place, but like it's a lot of challenges for someone that he did not study an MBA or anything associated. Like you go from like doing research to managing consortium. There is a lot of communication with different partners, having different thoughts, different languages, different attitudes. They have their own idea. They have experience like 20 and 30 years, in the field. So somehow it was a big challenge. So the first
Wow.
day I was googling project manager tasks.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Now, do you think if you could enlighten us about a little bit about the role of microalgae in food and nutrition industry?
So a big question, an interesting question, and I will tell you depending on the country. So like microalgae itself as a food or a feed ingredient is like a rich source of health beneficial ingredients, going from protein, carbs, polysaccharides, fibers, vitamin, minerals. So like you can say that there is a little bit of everything, and there is a lot of species and a lot of strains. So like the characteristic change between, like there is a lot of versatility too. Besides the high nutritional value, it's something like there is a lot of biodiversity. So as a food, in Europe is still a little bit challenging because, as you know, there is the nutritional part, which is plus plus plus, but there is the flavors too in microalgae and the color. So thinking to include microalgae in a food can be challenging for consumers not used to eat microalgae as a part of their diet, for example, like in Europe or some European countries, because they are not used. So for them, like the flavor, the umami flavor of microalgae is not something they are used to. I'm talking about the general public, not like some specific countries. But if we are talking about Asia, it's all a whole different things. Like microalgae and seaweed, it's a part of their diet. So like they are use it to the product. So in Europe now, I think there is 4 types of microalgae allowed for as a food, as a novel food like we can use.
What are those 4 kinds?
Spirulina, chlorella, tetraselmis, and another one I cannot remember the name, because in the project we focus on this 3 and we are trying to get nanochloropsis. It's a good source of a lot of fatty acids.
Yeah, I think it's really good source of antioxidants and
Exactly, and it's not food grade, but one of the objectives of the project is like support partners to get a novel food for this strain. Yeah.
And do you think if there are already some products in the market made out of microalgae and people can eat directly them?
Oh yeah, there is already in the market. One of the paper I did, like the first paper I did in the project, was doing a market screening of all the food like worldwide, like in the last, like all the lunches of foods and beverages containing algae in general. And then I divided on microalgal ingredient and macroalgal ingredient. So, for example, taking the example of Spain, like macroalgae are more known as a source of polysaccharides. So alginate, carrageenan, this kind of additive / ingredient, because depending it's clean label or not. This what I found from the market research that I did, that this ingredient, not the biomass in itself, but the extracts are mostly used, for example, in the case of macroalgae. And I found like carrageenan dominates the market of algae-based product.
Okay.
Like around 80% of the product. But for macroalgae, I remember it's much lower. I remember like the highest one was spirulina, and it was like 4% of the product contains spirulina. There is crackers, pasta, this kind of like product that they can accept the addition of spirulina. One of the things that I was like a little bit, I had trouble a little bit to discuss in my paper, that in the product, not all of them had the amount of the microalgae added or the name of the species, because there is a lot of product they will only put
microalgae
algae without specifying that exactly, or when they put spirulina they do not put the amount exactly. So the product exists, there is a little bit lack of label, so like consumers or even scientists can evaluate the quality of the product. There is the one used is spirulina and chlorella, and I think it was 4%.
Which species of chlorella is that? Is it Chlorella parentosa or what?
Vulgaris.
Vulgaris, okay. I have a question. Do you think if we could just go in the pond and harvest the spirulina or Chlorella vulgaris, wash it in our homes, give them a little fry and eat them directly?
Yeah, it's like one of the things that now it's like one of the ideas in the new project. They will do like the urban cultivation, like everyone will have his own like a little small farm to have his own, because at the end of the day, like cultivating macroalgae at small scale, it's not like a difficulty, it can be done. So the quality, you never know, maybe it will not be microbiologically like the best thing, but it's possible.
It's possible. That could be interesting, because I always had this thing in my mind, like if people could have their own aquarium, they could just throw away some spirulina, Chlorella vulgaris, take it out in the morning, put them in the shake and drink it.
Yeah. There is this idea in Europe. The urban agriculture, like everyone in his balcony, he can have his own, he can get the food from there, not going to the supermarket. It can be an idea. But for the microalgae, depending like on the consumers, like I don't know, like it's something different from one person to another. One of the things that it has been done by partner in ProFuture in Wageningen University and the University of Belgium. They did a lot of surveys to it's a qualitative analysis to ask people from different European countries how they think their ability to eat foods based on macroalgae. So there is people, for example, South Europe has less readability to eat them because they don't have enough knowledge, they don't know how to cook it. There is people that since it is not a usual ingredient in our diet, so they don't know how to cook it too.
Because in Netherlands, a lot of research is happening in microalgae, and if they did that survey and found out that thing, it's really interesting because I checked out some companies in Netherlands that
Mhm.
I forgot the name of the company, but they made a dark chocolate which had 70% cocoa in it, cocoa.
Mhm.
And for me, it was quite fascinating that they could introduce microalgae in the dark chocolate. I don't know how it tastes. So, but
Mhm.
have you ever tried any microalgae based product by yourself?
A lot, a lot.
Yeah, a lot.
A lot. And one of our partners made this like a great bar, like chocolate bar, because
Yeah.
like, and I'm not surprised with the chocolate because chocolate and microalgae is a good combination, because the problem of microalgae is the off flavor, but with
Mhm.
chocolate somehow like sort of natural masking. You don't need to add more masking agent. Like chocolate is enough because like the flavor of chocolate is strong, so
Yeah.
it hides the off flavor. And one of our partners in Italy, they did this great chocolate bar with microalgae. They did also like beverages. We are doing creams in Hirta. We have bread, muffins. Yeah, yeah, like
Mamma mia.
yeah. It's
All right.
good stuff. Good stuff.
That's really interesting. Well,
Yeah,
I
this
can
is the
talk
good
about,
side. Sorry, this is the good side of like a food scientist. You have
yeah,
like you'll taste a lot of tasty stuff.
that's true. I have worked as an intern for 2 months in one of the labs in India, which was about food science, and they
Hmm.
also made a new protein, a high protein rich muffin, and we got to taste it. We were the first one to taste it. Yes, that's true. Like as a food scientist, you can taste the new products before
Yeah,
it enters the market. That's really
exactly. A
interesting. Yeah.
privilege. Yes.
And I can talk about microalgae because microalgae is my passion. But I will ask
Sure.
you one last question
Sure.
about the
Please.
taste and the flavor because I have one more postdoc in my lab, and we were talking about how to introduce microalgae in the food market. And one of the
Mhm.
challenges that is there is the taste of it. People doesn't like it, and we have already discussed one of the strategies is to mask the flavor of microalgae, and we
Mhm.
can use the ingredient as chocolate, which is quite strong and it matches. So, what are the other strategies that food industries are using to, reduce the flavor and the texture of microalgae so that the consumers can eat it?
Yeah, there is one of the things I always think about when we talk about plant proteins in general or the emerging proteins, including microalgae. So we have this idea, or like we need to change microalgae to fit the product, but why we don't see it otherwise? Like we choose that like we use microalgae in the suitable application. It should not be any. This is I don't know. It's like two different approach in new product development. You need to like to change the ingredient as microalgae. Like you said, I need to remove the flavor, or how do I mask it? So for example, it will fit the application of cheese. Or why I don't get advantage of this specific property of microalgae to develop, for example, a seafood analog, where like the umami flavor is something I want, not something I want to mask. So for me, I see,
Very
for
well
example,
said.
so it's like two different approach, like change the ingredient to fit everything, like standardization of the ingredient, or somehow keeping this specification or a peculiar property, and to like you find the right application. So for me, for example, microalgae could be a great fit for seafood analogs because of the umami flavor. If one
Mhm.
day we will be able like to extract like have an extract of microalgae with a concentrated umami flavor, we can use it in seafood analog, and we avoid the use of any chemicals to get this flavor. So it will be
Wow.
like a natural ingredient. Now like all consumers are, even with after corona and everything, one of the things like consumers are more health conscious, and they want to consume something natural, clean label. We want, so it can microalgae or an extract of microalgae can be used as a natural extract to be used in seafood. This is one idea that can be done.
Wow.
The other thing, there is a lot of companies working on masking flavor. I don't know natural extract or chemical stuff that somehow they will like form like uh, like an interaction between the molecules, so they will block somehow the release of this of flavors, because I think
Okay.
the flavors are mostly associated with the proteins. So it can be, I think, adding chemicals, or the first example, like the strong flavors. So like somehow find the right combination of ingredient.
Okay.
Yeah. For now, I think this is the solution. Or like most of the things that I noticed in the market, for now they add microalgae at low level.
Okay. Very low level.
At low
Well,
level, yeah.
okay.
Because there is
So
the taste and there is the color too.
color too, exactly. Okay. Well, I have one more last question. What do you
Yeah.
think about the role of synthetic biology, and if the European Union is using synthetic biological tools in microalgae based industry to create different kind of food products?
Synthetic meaning, oh,
Synthetic biology, like maybe genetic engineering, if they are modifying the microalgae genetically.
not lightly seen by consumers.
Okay.
I don't think it is a strategy that now, like in 2021, it's not a good idea
So they
now.
are only working for
No,
the wild type.
sorry.
They are only working with wild type.
Yeah, because it's a critical, it's something in between, because like the selection, or like there is a lot of labs, and even in future are working like with the new strains, but it's like somehow it's like the conventional method of selection, which are not considered genetically modified, because genetically modified organism, because we do not change the genes at the end. So for this, like there is a lot of work done and being done and not considered as genetically modified to improve the quality of microalgae, like increasing the protein, reducing the pigmentation, reducing the flavors. There is a lot of work being done in Europe in this way, but using conventional selection tools. But the genetically modified,
No. All right.
like the now, like the main, like it's research and market and consumer demand, they always say like who decide, like the consumer, the companies, or the research. And I think it's like a little bit all somehow. So I don't think like the consumer now is ready to something genetically modified. See with soy, for example, and how we still use it, yes, but there is like pea is like gradually taking a lot of the share of the market of soy.
Okay. Well, I understand all these things, and there are many stakeholders and many questions revolving around this subject, especially it's a
Mhm.
food and we are consuming it. So definitely there will be many challenges, hurdles in this project.
Exactly.
All right. So before I say final goodbye, I have one more question to ask you. Like your vision as a program manager, as you said that you are in a European project with 31 partners and so many researchers, must be very different as compared to an individual PhD researcher, postdoc, even a scientist, because the all those individuals must be working on one aspect of their field, but your vision will be very different. So what did you learn from that vision as a program manager?
Yeah, like this is something amazing about the project managers. You are included in everything. You can attend all the meetings. Like I told, it's a big consortium, so like we have a lot of things going on, from the cultivation to the ingredient extraction. We have the food and the feed development. We have the life cycle assessment. We have consumers. Like we have communication, dissemination. It's a lot of things. But I think like one of the things that seeing it from outside as a manager, because before I did not work in microbiology. Like I started, like I'm not an expert, I'm a new in the field, so it has been only 2 years. So actually I did not have that strong background in microbiology. So seeing it from outside, it's like more, you see how the flows. It's like the project where I work, it's an innovation action. It's
Mhm.
not research action. So the innovation action, like you have already realized a good base of research, and now you are innovating and developing new things. So that's why most of the partners in the project are companies. So you see it more from like market perspective, like what we need now, what we need to innovate to put microalgae based product in the market. So this is so nice, and you see how like research, sir, not like basic research, which is important, and like help us to understand how things goes, like for example inside the ingredient, inside a food product. But this is another type. It's like research for something concrete, because like after the project and during the project we are developing food prototype. We are expecting that our product in the future will be later in the market. So this is so important, you know, like we want to develop products like healthy, tasty, you know, we are taking very good care of the nutritional composition, how the product should be done. So I see that, like, you know, it's so important not only to do the research part, but think about what lacks in the market and how as a researcher can make it better.
Very interesting. Like you said, like about the consumer and the market research. But I think
Exactly.
as a scientist or the researcher, nobody thinks about the consumer and the market research. They're only curious about the scientific questions. And if the money is coming only from the companies and the industry, they would expect a product to come in.
Mhm.
And the product or the better product can only come in when we have a better understanding of the market or the consumer. So how a scientist or the young PhD scholar or the postdoc who are dependent on the companies or the industries can make sure that they are doing an effective market research or the consumer based research. Can you give us some tips on that? Like, how did you, because you were also a postdoc
Mhm.
and then you moved to program manager where you got all these administrative and market research skills. So, if you can share some tips, what is the strategy on developing a research project? Also have an element of the consumer-based research report.
Okay, so for like like your question, like there is like a part where you say like because depending on the funding when you do the research, depending from where it come, because sometimes like companies will invest together with a research center, university, to focus on specific topic, because not all the companies have a research and development department, so they will somehow pay a laboratory or a department to do the research that they need. So for example, I don't know, they have a new product, so they
Mhm.
wanted to test it if this product fit in any application. So it's for example, take an example, it's a company of ingredients, I don't know, fibers, for example, or starches or proteins, isolates. They have the product, but they don't have a research and development department. So they will make an agreement or a contract with a university research center. So they will test this ingredient, characterize them, and try different application. For example, cakes, snacks, to see how this ingredient will behave within a food product, and it will help them later to market their product, because they will not like afterward use your results as something internal, but it will be their you know, their proof that the product they developed is a good product and it can be applied here and here, and like the results that they obtained, somehow a sort of manual to convince the buyers
Mhm.
that this is a good product. This is one aspect. And for example, for master students working on this, for example, for helping to characterize the product, it's a nice thing to be done, because you know somehow it's like it will be something hybrid. You would are doing research, but in the same time, it's like from a perspective of a company. But you know, like in the universities mostly, because in the research center it's a little bit, you know, it's so structured, the how things are being done. But the university, like we can explore more. We have this advantage, at least what I had in Italy. Like we are hired, for example, from, or we are paid from a company to do a set of like analysis. But if we are curious about something, we will investigate more. So
Mhm.
this is possible too. The other part, it will be like the funding from, for example, from the European Commission or any other, like, you know, research calls. It's like now, in the past, maybe it was more, or even now there is both. There is like research action and there is innovation action. So for in the research action, it will be like more basic research. You are developing something, you are studying to understand, you know, it's like basic research. The other one, innovation action, it's like you should take into consideration like the plus of what is already existing in the market. So one of the things when you prepare the proposal to convince the reviewer that you like your project worth the funding, you need to write a good part of the impact and the excellence. And this is like the impact in the market after, or the like the social impact, the economical impact. You know, these are important factors. So depending on the project, I think like PhD students or master students, I think it's like PhD students will take more advantage of this, since the PhD, like, it's a long program, it's like 3 years, and PhD student can be involved with like in a lot of aspects, and they can see things from, they will be present in the general meetings when all partners present, they will see when they will talk about the financial situation of the project, so they can see it from different aspects. And I think this is it, somehow it's a preparation for after.
That's really great. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much again. I mean, it was really, really incredible and a pleasure to talk with you about microalgae, PhD, research, product innovation, research innovation. Really, really fantastic to have you here, Fatma. Thank you so much for giving me your time.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. It was nice too.
All right.